Getting back to that point here, that power pocket, right? And then just snapping across, flicking that wrist out, okay? Driving with that elbow, extending out and snapping that wrist. That's what's gonna get you the distance. All right, what's up, guys? Chris Lee with another Just Throw a Disc Golf video. Hey, check this out. What I'm going to quickly do is just talk to you guys about how I think you need to be actually holding your disc as a beginner, okay? Now, check this out. I've been playing less than a year now, and I've gained a lot of experience playing disc golf, and I've been learning a lot. So I really wanted to make this video strictly for beginners or people who are just starting. Now, yes, you can go out and watch videos from the pros or whatever. Do whatever makes you feel good. But for me and my fan base and people who are subscribed to my channel, I want to go ahead and just show you guys what works for me, because it may be a little different for everybody. There's no one size fit all, okay? So I'm going to kind of show you guys what I think is best in this scenario. Let's go ahead and jump into it. What I see with a lot of beginners, especially beginners that I help myself, people who are new to disc golf, is they can't really understand why they're not getting a lot of distance, okay? And I've been helping a lot of people the past couple months or whatever to basically start playing disc golf and try to teach them how to actually hold the disc properly and basically try to get a good release, okay? And a lot of the times, the first thing that I see that people love to do when they're playing disc golf is they hold the disc like this, okay? Now, if you're putting, this is fine. This is more of a grip that you want to do for putting. You don't want to have it necessarily on the rim, but have your finger kind of under the rim, whatever, if you want to get a putt, okay? That'll be more of your putting form. Now, you'll hear people talk about like fan grips to where they spread their fingers out and they want to hold the disc a particular way, or more so like this, so they can try to get more distance. But I would say as a beginner, I wouldn't start off like that. Let me go ahead and tell you guys some ways that I would recommend that you can go ahead and throw, okay? A lot of times you'll see people also do this, you know, have their hands spread out like this, like that fan grip, or people are really, you know, dead on the edge, holding a disc like this, got their fingers wrapped around, different things like that. Here's what I would recommend. First off, this is one way you can go ahead and try it. You want to take the disc, place it in between your index finger and your middle finger, okay? Grip these fingers around it, and then take that index finger and grip it around very tightly, okay? And then here, this is more, your thumb will be more like a power grip here. And then you have this rim edge area that's between the, where the rim meets almost like the center of the disc, or a portion of the disc. You'll kind of feel it. You can dip into it. That's a place that I like to hold it. And I know some people like to do it on the edge like that. I don't recommend that, because I think when you are grabbing it like that, that the pressure from your thumb kind of forces it to go more on Annie angle, which is mean Annie going to the right, okay? So if you see people holding it like this and their disc is coming out to the right all the time, it's probably because of that thumb pressure is actually forcing the disc to the right, okay? And then there's a lot of times when people do the power grip to where they just over grip the disc, okay? And what I mean by that is their thumb is spread it out so wide, everything feels so locked up and tense. They're throwing it harder, but they're not really getting a snap from the wrist. So I would recommend moving your thumb in just a little bit more and finding something that feels comfortable in your hand and gripping it that way. That's number one, okay? Here's the other side of that. Another thing that I would kind of recommend that you guys do as well is that if it doesn't feel comfortable for you to do that, because it doesn't feel comfortable for me to do that, I do what's called a two-finger grip. This is not everybody's cup of tea, but this works for me. I feel like I get more snap out of the disc. So I take my two fingers like this, okay? And I grip the bottom rim of the disc as tight as I can, right? And then I push my thumb into it that way. And this is how I get more snap. Now I kind of roll my hand up a little bit more over the disc at the top, over the middle, so I'm able to get more snap out of the disc, okay? Now, depending on where you grip it and how you grip it, you just got to put it in there comfortably, so whenever you extend out, you're able to come back into that power pocket, right? Come across and release the disc, okay? So we're out here and we're releasing the disc across our chest, okay? That's what I recommend. Now, 3-finger grip may work for you. There's nothing wrong with it. This is how you would grip it if you want to do a 3-finger grip. Thumb placement in the same spot. Some people like their thumb flat. I like to do my thumb kind of bent like this, so I'm squeezing and putting pressure on a disc. The other option is this. If I wanted to just, instead of putting it in between there and I just wanted to put it in the palm of my hands, you just put it in the palm of your hands like that, wrap your fingers around, and put your thumb there and just find what works for you, okay? Those are the different grips that I will recommend. The next thing that I see why beginners are not getting the distance that they want in general is because, like I said, after they're holding it like this, you got to fix your grip. But a lot of times I see people, their wrist is open. When they're about to throw the disc, what they do is they have their wrist open. So this is closed, okay? This is open. So a lot of the times you see a lot of people doing this, beginners. They're swinging their arms like this and their wrist is open. That means that when it's open and you're trying to throw, there's no snap. And what I mean by snap is you want your wrist closed, bent inward like this, so you can go ahead and get a good snap on your disc. So you want to keep your elbow up, okay? And then once you keep your elbow up, when you come across and you go into that power pocket, this is how you want to come across, okay? And once you come across like that, as long as your wrist is closed, when you do decide to come out, you should feel a snap in your wrist outward. It should go that way, okay? So feeling that snap in your wrist is what's going to make it work. Now, one thing I always tell people is that if you were in your childhood and you had like a wet towel, you know how we used to spin it and then we would whip it, we would try to pop somebody with it or whatever, just whip the towel. That's the same concept that you want to do with the disc. So you're out here, you're coming into that power pocket, and then you want to whip the disc, okay? Whip the disc. Once you do that, you'll get more snap out of your disc. So if you're finding that you're not getting a lot of distance, a lot of it is probably because you have your wrist wide open, and when you're throwing, you're just swinging your arm. You're not getting any distance. But what gets you the distance is pulling through correctly, expanding out, leading with your elbow, okay? Extending your arm out and snapping your wrist. Snap, snap, okay? Keep that wrist closed, come across, and snap with your hand, and you should be good. All right, so check this out. Tip number 3. One thing that I notice with a lot of beginners is they're not standing right, their stance. A lot of you are beginners, you don't know anything about an X step, right? So you're probably not going to be taking that step to come across, right? Because it's just too much for you to try to get the hang of. So what I recommend is there's something that I see people do a lot. They're in a skateboard stance. And the skateboard stance is where your feet are lined up together. And then when people throw and they reach out, you see them kind of do this. They turn their bodies and they're throwing everything on Annie. And it's because you're not able to use your hips, okay? And you want to be able to use your hips. So I would recommend the snowboard stance, okay? At least that's what I call it. Putting your foot here, your right foot, your lead foot with your throwing hand or your dominant hand, and then taking your off foot and staggering it like a snowboard, okay? So you got that hip turning, you're able to control that. It also helps you use your hips more and get more torque, okay? So you definitely want to get a little bend in your stance, okay? And then I recommend that once you go back, instead of reaching back way here, this is rounding, okay? We don't want to feel like we're rounding coming around our body. You want to grip the disc right, okay? And then when you are set up, I like to do this to get my angle, and then I like to personally go back right here, okay? Here, not necessarily here, you know, or turning my hips or whatever. I got my stance right. Just like that. Just like that. You guys can see my stance. I like to just look where I'm about to throw at my target for my standstill, and I like to reach back here. And then once I go here, you kind of coiling a bit. Don't overdo it. Just coming back here. I like to come forward, okay? So here, come that way. Just come across my chest. Now, it may feel a little bit uncomfortable for you. A lot of people, you see them go back here and they're straight across their chest. A lot of people really lead with their arm and then bring their hand and kind of come. It just all depends on you, but I like to reach back naturally, and I like to come across and shoot across, okay? So the stance is everything. You should be able to feel yourself, okay, leaning back and then using your hips. So turning your hips to get that momentum, to get that distance. Now, you don't want to just be swinging a whole lot, but more so coming through in the power pocket and snapping straight. Wherever your arm is pointed or your shoulder, that's where you should extend. So if my elbow is set up here, when I extend, this is where I should be releasing the disc. If you're releasing the disc here, it's too early. If you're releasing the disc way over here, it's too late. So however you're lined up, line yourself up, come across, that's where you should release the disc, okay? That's how it works for me. Real quick is just to focus on your nose angle, okay? So if you're releasing a disc, okay, this is straight, this is flat, okay? This is hyzer. That means that when you throw and release the disc, it's gonna finish with the fade to the left. This is anhyzer. So when you throw the disc this way, it's gonna come out and the disc is gonna go to the right, okay? So you wanna make sure that your nose angle is flat. If you wanna throw it flat or straight, depending on what the disc is, it's always good to practice with a neutral disc, simply because you know that a neutral disc is going to fly straight if you just throw it flat. This is hyzer. So if I want my disc to go to the left, I'm going to release it on a slight hyzer, slight angle, and when I release it and come across, it's going to come out of my hands, and then it's going to finish with a fade to the left. That's what the hyzer is, okay? And then with the anhyzer, if I wanted to release it to the right or make the disc go right, I'm going to release it on a little Annie like that, okay? So when I come out like that, that's how the disc is going to come out. It's going to go to the right or finish to the left or whatever the case may be. Right first with a little fade to the left, or if you do like a turnover shot, it's going to turn completely over to the right and keep going. So what I would recommend is that when you're about to throw, always keep your stance with your chest up, okay? And if you want to throw straight and flat, make sure that your chest is up and you come across flat, okay? Standing straight up. If you want to throw hyzer, you don't necessarily have to adjust it with your hand. Just lean down some, and that'll help you come across your chest and come out on a hyzer by itself. You don't have to do anything with your hands. Same way, so I'm straight, okay? This is hyzer, and they don't have to be drastic, okay? And this is anhyzer. So if you want your disc to go to the right and you do your step, lean back a little bit, and that'll help you come across and release on anhyzer. Flat, again, straight across, and a little hyzer, just bend down some, still come across your chest, and then it'll come out on hyzer, and that's pretty much it. So now, what I want him to do is we're not going to focus on anything from X step standpoint. We're going to do a standstill throws only, okay? We have this tree in front of him that's going to kind of get in his head, and we have that tree that gets in his head. It gets in my head. A lot of us hit it. I hit this tree sometimes. Sometimes I land in that tree. It's all about lining up. So what he needs to do is what he needs to focus on is his release point. Any of you out there, when you're releasing, are you releasing when you're here, are you releasing here early? Are you releasing straight across, or are you releasing late? Okay, that's going to make a difference. So where he releases is going to be key. Okay, so go ahead and get set up. All I want him to do now is to relax, breathe in, breathe out, have loose arm, loose muscles, and just grip the disc tightly. Not over tight, but just grip it tight enough to where I can't pull it out of your hands. Okay. All right, got it. Good. Now what I want you to do is line up. I want him to line up to the basket, okay? And once he lined up to the basket, I want him to focus on extending out and only looking back at the disc, okay? Only looking back at the disc. Once he get here, ribbon it across. So here, boom, it's just right across. It should be here, right across. So you coming right across your chest. That's much better because that's flatter. That's a flatter throw, okay? That's Look how flat that profile is. Look at that. Just like that. Just like that. Not bad, but don't shoot your arm so much to where you're overly extending. Okay? This time I want you to put your hand in your pocket. Keep your hand in your pocket and rip the disc straight. Much better. Much better. That automatically proved right there that the reason why you're throwing way into the trees is because you're overextending that off arm, okay? Right. And that overextension of your off arm is forcing you to be way back here, and you're forcing the disc that way. Sure. But with your hand more to your side and you had it in your pocket, you were able to extend out, right? And then be forced to come back and release it only with driving your arm and extending out. But when you bring your arm back, sometimes you kind of overextend and you're constantly shooting, forcing the disc to go where you don't want it to go. Yes, sir. When you're shooting, you can't turn your shoulders and open up. You turn and open up your shoulders, then this is all you have left, okay? You don't want that. You want to go here, and then once you come to this point, then it's okay to bring your arm, but just get a little bit more snap. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for the video. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comment section. Do you feel like these tips helped you out? If so, go out and try them out. Let me know down in the comment section that they helped. Other than that, if you're new to disc golf, pick up a disc, don't stress, and just throw it.